Hello, hello, friends. Hello. So I'm going to hang for a second, let you guys jump on. There was a link that I was going to give you that I can't find at the moment. How y'all doing? Hello. We'll have some good subjects today. Kind of changing my mind what I'm doing this week. So I'll explain that in a second. How y'all doing? Let me get this link here. There it is. Hello. Say hello in the comments. Now I see you jumping on. All right. Good. I'm glad you're all here. And I'm glad it's been really fun to see how many people are watching the replays too. And I'm getting lots of good feedback. I enjoy doing these and connecting with everyone. So I love that. All right. So first of all, I think I would love to keep the message out there to keep seeing the hurricane over Florida lose some of its power. There's a whole mess of us that are setting intentions for that and are really setting some energy and holding the vision that it loses a lot of power. A lot of us have clients out there. We have friends out there. I have a friend that I text her. I'm like, all right, you got to move out of Florida. I haven't slept for 3 nights because I have people out there. And she was just laughing. She's like, yeah, I might just do that this time. So if you guys could all just say your prayers, set your intentions, see the vision, meditate, whatever works for you, to just keep seeing that storm, keep losing power. That'd be great. We have seen that happen before where we all kind of gathered together and we held the vision. And I can't remember which storm it was. But at the last minute, it lost a ton of power and it did not do as much damage. I can't remember which one it was though. So I've actually literally seen that help. And so I think a lot of us learned a lot on that last hurricane. It wasn't the last like Helene, but it was a while back, but hold the energy for that, my friends. Hold the energy for that. So I'm going to shift up the week a little bit and I'm going to use it as a teaching moment because it's always a teaching moment or it's always a learning moment for me. So normally I would be coming on live every day the rest of the week. And I've really noticed since I've gotten back from the Camino and from Spain and stuff, I am just not feeling my best. And I was starting to feel my best. And I think I've just been really busy and there's been lots going on. And I'm talking to clients and I got family stuff and I got funerals and I got all sorts of stuff going on kind of on the behind the scenes in life. And I am going to take I'll do today, of course, but then I'm going to take the rest of the week off and I'm going to focus a little bit more on my physical body. I'm going to not do lives. I will be back shiny and bright on Monday. And I hate canceling and doing and changing stuff like that. It's annoying, which I bet a lot of you that have health challenges understand and relate to. And a few years ago, even a couple years ago, I would have just pushed through. But what I've learned for myself over the last few years, so I used to get bronchitis and pneumonia every fall. And over the last few years working with Sunny and mentoring and stuff like that, we've really started to look into kind of the emotional components about that and into the triggers and into the pattern of it, because it was a pattern. It was a pattern. And I used to have a very similar pattern around Christmas. I would get sick every Christmas. And I don't do that anymore. And I also used to get sick on vacations, and I don't do that anymore. I might get sick before or after vacation, so I've at least moved it. But it's still something I'm working on. And I honestly just had a call with her and we were talking through it. And she's like, listen, you are out here teaching things and you're also in your life learning things. And we kind of talked through if I didn't do the lives, because I don't like disappointing people, as I know many of you struggle with as well. But if I don't, I know by Monday, I'll be even more sick. I know it. I can feel it coming. Because I started to kind of feel shitty again yesterday. And I'm like, ugh, why? And it's because I'm not resting. And I haven't been sleeping. I have a couple deaths that happened. So I'm thinking a lot about my friends and families and all that kind of stuff. We have spirit school opening up the doors and all that kind of stuff. And I'm overwhelming myself and not allowing myself. This is what we decided today. And it made so much sense. She's like, I think you used every bit of energy you had on the Camino trip. And I don't think you had enough time to kind of fill back up from it. And I started laughing. I'm like, oh, I think I used my energy plus any reserves, plus any other tanks that I had to do that experience, which I would do it again in a minute. But I honestly could have used like 2 or 3 weeks off afterwards to refill and integrate and kind of sit with all the shifts that happen and give myself some time to build that energy back up. And I just I gave myself a few days for sure. I totally did. And I didn't see clients and I didn't answer phone calls and like all that kind of stuff. So I did do that. I didn't expect what an experience it was going to be, because it was so much bigger than any of us expected. And it's interesting because I'm watching different people that were in our group and they're struggling a little bit too. Same thing. So I just got to recharge a little bit, and I just got to take some space and some time. And I love that you guys are understanding. Thank you so much for that. But I also think it's a great teachable moment because we don't do it. Now with my work and my job, I have more flexibility. You know, I'm the boss. And so I can say, hey, I can't come on live. I can shift clients around. I can shift things around. That for sure is a freedom that I know a lot of you don't have. I know you don't have that. So when you don't have that, what do you do? And, you know, when my kids were little, and I don't think Eli called in sick to work for the first 15 years I knew him, not once. And the one time that he did, I called in for him before he could tell me no, because he was puking sick. Like he just never called in sick. He was just trained. You never do that. And because you disappoint people, you got to go to work, you got to show up, blah, 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 blah. And if the kids were sick, I was the one in charge of them. I had more freedom in my work. So it was always on me to shift clients around and disappoint them and all that kind of stuff. So we kind of fought about it for a long time. And then we kind of smoothed it out because I'm like, dude, you have to take time off if the kids are sick. I'm not going to do it every time. Like, that's not okay. It just doesn't work. And we started slowly doing things differently to maintain my health and well-being, because I got sick more often. I definitely got sick more often in the first part of our marriage. And I think it was because I always pushed through. And I do think women I think men are trained just as much. But I think women, you know, when Eli gets sick, he's down on the couch, he's out cold until he's better. Foster, same thing, out, down, cold, they just sleep. I'm like, man, how do you guys do that? Well, they don't take care of anything. They let everything go and they give themselves the time they need, and then they're better so much quicker. Keaton and I fight it a little bit. We fight the rest a little bit. We fight the slowing down a little bit. We fight the letting everyone else go so we can just focus. And I think that is something that's just in us. I have clients right now that are so irritated that they're still sick, and they've been sick for a couple of weeks too. And I'm like, oh, I totally understand. And what kind of things can I do to help my immune system? Because I'm busy. And I'm busy in the best of ways. You know, I get to do all the fun stuff as far as I'm concerned. I love doing energy work. I love teaching. I love doing all these things. But the thing is, if I don't give myself time to re-energize and regenerate myself, I get sick. And so I'm still learning how to find the harmony in that piece, because I'm a fast mover. But my body's like, no, we're not doing that. Like you gotta rest, and you gotta have some. A lot of times, that's why I always like to have my own space, because I know then I won't take care of anyone else except myself. So can you guys relate to that? Does that make sense to you guys? Can you guys kind of relate to needing to take some time out and then you don't, and then you pay for it? Because that's definitely something that was it was such a hard pattern for me, and it's so much better than it was. Like I've made a lot of progress in that, and I take I invest a lot of time and energy in how to build up my immune system, how to build up my body, how to build up my strength, become a better sleeper, clean my energy. If I'm doing a ton of clearings, it's super funny if I get really busy doing clearings, which happens. Andrea, she keeps me organized. She's part of my team. She always will pick up on it, and she's like, "Yeah, like you feel so gross, like you're so drained." And so I've had to learn as my business grows to pay attention to more of my health and my well-being and like all that kind of stuff. And so to be able to even talk about it is great, because a couple of years ago I wouldn't even have told you guys about it. I would have just shoved myself through, and then next week I would have had to call in sick all week. Okay, so yep, you guys. Okay, Tina says, love this. Allows me to understand that it's okay to take time for me, and that it's okay to show up for myself in the form of rest, right? Because if you don't show up, so if you disappoint other people, this was really hard for me to hear. If you are worried about disappointing other people and you don't disappoint them, you're actually disappointing yourself. And I was like, oh, that's awful. Because if you push through so you don't disappoint all of you, then I'm disappointing my health, my well-being, my voice. I keep losing my voice this week, my body, like all of those things. And I rather disappoint you with love and feel better in a day or two instead of in 2 weeks, which is my normal pattern. Does that make sense? I know, isn't that interesting? Isn't that interesting? Jen Shapp said, I never thought of it like that. It makes sense. I know, I never thought of it like that either. And I damn well wasn't taught that. Like our generation is like, you go to work, you're sick, too bad. Take a cold tablet and show up. And as I get older, my health is so much more important to me, and my well-being and my mental health, all of that is way more important than any of this. Not that you're not important, but my life is so much more important than to show up in a way that's half-assed. And you guys are mostly all psychic or intuitive, one of the two. So it's not like you can't feel it, right? And like that's the funniest part. Someone told me one time, they're like, well, they already know shit's going on. They're all psychic. They can feel it in you. And you can feel if I'm half-assing it. You can feel if I don't feel well. You can feel it if I don't really want to be on live. Like you can all feel it. So it's better just to be like, hey, I don't feel well. And I've been thinking about it all. And I thought about it all morning. I was like, man, I really need a couple days. And then Sunny brought it up. She's like, hey, have you ever considered maybe you need a couple days? I'm like, yeah, I already got that this morning. So I thought it was a great story to share. All right. So yes, you guys are getting this. Linda says, typically I go and go and go until my body says, oh no, you will rest. And that's what happens is you'll keep pushing yourself, and then your body will react in a way that forces you to rest. And that was the piece. Even on the Camino, I knew when I needed to sit down. And I remember the second day I was walking with somebody, and I would walk for a while, and then I would sit, and I'd walk for a while, and I'm like, man, I kept apologizing for it. I'm like, I'm really sorry I have to keep stopping. Like I felt bad because I didn't want to disappoint her, and I didn't want her waiting for me or feeling obligated, like she had to wait for me. And it was a thing. And because she finally stopped and turned to me, and she goes, could you just stop? She goes, my body hurts today from yesterday, because she was kind of a rock and roll in the day before. And she said, I am more than happy to stop with you. So stop fucking apologizing. And I was like, all right, I hear ya. okay. So, and we both had an agreement. If one had to stop and the other one didn't want to, you just keep walking. But we had to talk it out. So I thought that was really interesting too. Donna, yep, she says, I totally relate. We don't, or we didn't give ourselves the luxury of time, right? Yep. Jolene, this is a big one for you too. I know it is. You show up dead other than not going to work. Yep. Tony said, I love this. I always seem to put myself last, so I need the reminder. The other Cindy says, yep, my body knocks me over for sure. Right? And then we get mad at our bodies. We get so frustrated because our bodies keep being sick. Yet we're not listening to the messages. One of the things that was coming in on my call with Sunny today, it was such a good call. I should have just taped it and showed it to you guys. But we were talking about this time of year. Fall is around death and loss, and the trees die, and then winter comes, and there's we lost Priscilla in the fall. I've had a lot of death in the fall, or experienced a lot of people dying in the fall. And so there's this emotional component that if I don't pay attention to it, or I don't let myself feel it, my body, what we came up this morning that kind of fell out of my face was like my body throws tantrums. And I was like, oh, my body throws tantrums. That makes so much sense to me. And so my body can throw a little tantrum, like sinus stuff and throat stuff, and you're starting to get congested, or it can throw a big tantrum and I can get pneumonia, which is what used to happen. So again, I've made a lot of progress because I could feel it. I knew it. I was aware of it. I had to talk through the decision process of what I need to do to take care of myself. That's why mentoring is great. That's why Spirit School is great, because we talk about this kind of stuff. It's why group counseling or like all the stuff. It's why it's always great, because when you can talk through the energetic side of it, then you can feel the emotions and see a different perspective, which is always helpful for me. I'm like, let me just talk this out. It's what I do all the time. Let me just talk this out and let's see where either my emotions come up, or I get an awareness, or you help me see an awareness or something. Like, that's why it's so fucking helpful to have support. So it was so great to be like, oh, there's another piece. There's a piece. Okay, that's a piece. So now I know that I can do some other things to help myself show up more in a stronger way for my people, because that's what I love, right? Or for my friends. I have a friend flying in tomorrow going through an awful thing. Like, I don't want to be sick for that. Like, I want to stand strong for her and her family. I don't want to be sick for that. So it's been a eye-opening week to remember some of the basics, right? Carlos said, you taught me the importance of investing in yourself, and that always helps me because that phrase echoes back to me. Yep. And sometimes the investment is time. Sometimes the investment is money. Sometimes the investment is like, it could be for care for yourself. It could be for mentoring. It could be for Spirit School. It could be for a chiropractor. I love my chiropractor. It could be for supplements. It could be like, the investment is so many different layers, right? Yep, that's a good point, Tina. This is a good point. She said, in the past, I've been upset that people don't seem to know and appreciate that I'm showing up for them when I'm completely depleted. Right? And that's how I ran my work for a long time. I'd be completely depleted. And then it was always during a time that, like, maybe it was, filling a class, or maybe it was opening up Spirit School, or it was a trip that I wanted to take people on, and like, no one was showing up, no one was signing up. And I'm like, oh, well, I'm completely depleted. And intuitively, they probably feel that. So who wants to be with that kind of energy? I rather teach you, like, wow, hey, I'm depleted, and this is what I'm going to do to fill myself up. And then I'll be back in a couple days and you'll feel where I like to be. But isn't that interesting? We get resentful because we show up when we're really fucking tired. Why aren't you showing up, and why don't you appreciate it? Yep. That's a good boundary to learn. That's a good boundary to learn. So what you're learning, Tina, is that you're learning not to let yourself down. It's okay to let other people down, right? It's okay to let people down. That was really hard. I still, obviously, still struggle with that piece because it's important for me to show up for people. It's also important for me to have people that show up for me. And I go back and forth. This is a funny story, but it's a great example. So me and my hair girl, we've known each other for 20 years, and even probably 25 at this point. I don't know. We're older now, so probably 25 years. And we're both busy. We both got all this shit going on. And so when I have something special, she always tries to fit me in. She's just known me long enough. She's like, oh my God, if you're doing videos, get your freaking hair done. She hates when I have ugly hair. And we did this several times before we caught on, but she would, instead of taking her full day off, she would get me in, and my hair would always give us trouble every time. And I was like, that's it. I was like, if you have a day off, you are not allowed to do my hair. Like, you're just not allowed. And we had this whole conversation, and she's like, yeah, I need to have my day off. I'm like, yeah, you really do. Like, she's so creative, and she works long hours. She's got baby twins, like all the kind of stuff. And I'm like, that's it. We like have to change that pattern. Now I'm always like, is that your day off? That's your day off. I'm not coming in because then I have ugly hair and we hate it. But it was a hard lesson to learn for both of us because she hates letting people down as much as I do. So I do think when you have that fear of letting people down, you have to kind of turn it back on you and be like, okay, is it healthier? Strange word to say, but healthier for me to let them down or let me down? It's always, you are first. You are always first. You can always renegotiate. That's Sunny always says, you can always renegotiate the agreement. Can always renegotiate it. And you will probably piss some people off, and that's okay too. They'll get over it. Or if someone was really mad, and this is like, if someone got super mad that I was not going to be on live for the rest of the week, they are not my client. They're not. If someone's disappointed, that's okay. I am too. But they also have some kind of, every one of you is like, oh, it's okay. Take care of yourself. Like, that's a beautiful response to hear, but not everyone has that nice, beautiful response when you let them down. Like, I've been pissed at people when they let me down. And then I'm thinking, okay, but wait a second. Like, I know she's been struggling with this or that, or she's had this going on health-wise, or this is going on with her family. Like, maybe she just needs the time, and then she can show up better for me elsewhere. So I can work myself through it. But I think you got to be on both sides of it. So the rest of the week, I'm going to take off. I'm going to spend some quality time for my health, but I'm also going to spend some quality time with my girlfriend that's coming into town and her family. And then I will come back on Monday, and I'll be well and shiny and rested. And it will be a much better experience for all of you too. All right, let's see what else you guys are saying. Yep, hard lesson to learn, but necessary very much. Lisa said, I'm still trying to change that in my life. I still try to please others instead of doing what I need or want. Great lesson. And I think it's, instead of it being a lesson, because, we have to learn our lesson. I hate that. How about we're just learning to do it differently? It doesn't need to be a lesson. It can just be an experience that, oh yeah, you know what? I'm going to learn how to do that a little bit differently. Because this has taken me years. Apparently, I'm a very slow learner. It's taken me years to get to this point. And I still need the reminder. And I teach it. But we always teach what we need to learn, right? Yeah, because you want your peace. Yep. And if you're not getting the peace you need, you got to make some time for it, and you got to make some space for it. And that's really tough when there's stuff going on in life. And again, sometimes you might have to tell yourself, like, okay, super busy, hard time of life. I'm going to take 15 minutes. I'm going to take an hour. I'm going to take a minute. I'm going to take a few minutes. I'm going to take tomorrow night. I'm like, you have to put it as a priority. And sometimes the time is really short. Like, you know, when my dad was sick, oh my God, like I remember I closed my business for like 6 weeks because there was just so much to do. And I couldn't focus on either one really well. And so I just had to shut everything down. Well, that wasn't the best idea in the world because this fills me up. I needed the time though, and I needed the space, and I needed to be able to get out into businesses and ask for help and all that kind of stuff. But I had to prioritize some time for me too. And that pissed people off. So it's okay to piss people off. You're not doing it out of spite. You're not doing it out of anger. Well, you can do it out of resentment, but you're not doing it from a place of wanting to punish people. You're doing it out of a place of loving yourself first. And imagine if we all took care of ourselves first. Imagine the difference the world would be, right? So with that being said, I'm going to go take care of myself. I'm going to take a few days. I'm going to reschedule some stuff. I'm going to get my health back, and I will be back on Monday at noon. Okay. So I will see you at noon Central. We don't quite change time zones yet, so I don't think we have to worry about that until November. Thank you for understanding. I very much appreciate it. I hope it gives you guys some reminders to pick yourself first and to create some space for your own space and healing if you need it. And we'll go from there. Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. There you go, Kim. See, good validation. It's good validation. Take the day. That's what I'm going to do as well. Yep. I'm going to rest. So a couple of you might get a little email from me. And Spirit School, I am going to shift the date of tonight's class. So if you're in Spirit School or you're a new person in class, sorry, but I'm gonna shift it so you get a better class from me. Okay, so I'll put a note in Spirit School that we're just shifting dates, and then if you have any other questions on that, of course, keep me posted. You can still sign up for Spirit School through the whole weekend. We still have time. We still have a couple weeks left, but I will be rescheduling tonight's class. Okay, all right, guys. See you. I'm off to rest. See you Monday.